Welcome to Crowning Around, where every woman wears a crown, whether she's 17 or 70. I'm Joan Caliendo, and this is the space where magic happens when women empower women. Each week, we'll dig into topics like ageism, stepping into your power, and everything in between. And today, we're kicking it all off with a queen in her own right. Me, Ms. New York Senior America.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It feels like it's been a minute since we've been doing this, but it's actually episode 19. And I'm welcoming this evening a fellow pickler. This is how we know each other, but we're really going to tap into some beautiful moments regarding educational foundations and bringing up children in the right way with care and love and comfort. And I would like for you to meet my guest this evening, Miss Midge McDonough.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, happy to have you here. We look so different from each other when we see each other on the court.
I don't think you've ever seen me with makeup
no,
before.
we never. This is not our usual look, but we clean up very nicely.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to start with a little background on Midge and tell you that she is the founder of Miss Midgie's Preschool, which is in West Babylon, New York. This has been a passion of hers for over 26 years, and she began her career dedicating herself to young children in her home, and she decided that she would establish her own fully welded building, and she has done that and is about to franchise, which is really, really a significant thing for a preschool program. She is incredibly passionate about children's emotional wellness and has written several children's books, one of which I have prominently displayed here, which really concentrates on coping skills and anxiety in children, which she will explain to us began from her own experiences with her son. Mm-hmm. Her approach to education is wonderful because it is regarding mindfulness, and that's something that you need to understand in regards to educational curriculum, and Midge will be explaining all of that to us. Her book, The Missing Mommy Cure, when I first saw the title of it, I thought it was about moms missing their children as they went off to school. But it really is a correlation between the separation anxiety of little ones, 18-month-olds and 2-year-olds going off to pre-K, and the separation and the fears that they experience. And she wrote this lovely book. And it really is a coping mechanism for both mom and child. As an educator myself for over 39 years, on the other end of the scale, high school students, I am fascinated to understand the foundations that she builds with such small children. So I thought we would start with a little retrospective feedback in a video form. So please meet Miss Midgie.
Check out the woman behind the brand. You might be surprised. She was once a very shy girl.
Joining me right now, someone who really knows a lot about teaching. Midge, lady, good to have you. An author, an educator, have a seat. You've done so much in the world of education. I love having you on the program.
In her personal and professional life led her to write The Missing Mommy Cure to help other parents.
Hello, my name is Midge Levy, the owner of Miss Midgie's Preschool, and I'm also a mother of two. I have had the problem with separation anxiety personally with my son when he was 3 years old.
Every day, and they're kind of forced to do it as like a curriculum. Then they'll be like, by the time they're a teenager and all that stress in life is torturing them, they'll be able to regulate their emotions and get through the day and get through the stress of everyday living. So do you guys understand?
Through mindfulness education to help foster early age concentration on things that children should focus on, happiness and joyful learning that eliminates early life anxiety.
So if we
Okay. I'm hoping that went through effortlessly because we were hearing things a little bit differently. But my takeaway from that is, wow, you got some great press. You were on a lot of shows.
I was.
Mr. Ernie Anastas, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
And some
He's
really
such a great guy.
some local programming that did some really very, very good advertising for your preschool. I love it.
Yeah.
So welcome, Midge.
Thank you.
You know, I just I was very, very taken aback when I watched that video in retrospective because all I saw was love and children that were smiling and happy.
Yeah.
And that's the message tonight.
I know. And I love my job and I love everything I created. And that's what motivates me.
I believe you. I believe you sincerely. So we're going to start with our Queen's Court and we're going to start with a couple of questions that pertain to the age bracket that Midge specializes in. So this is 22 months to
Yes.
kindergarten. Which we agree is crucial developmental age. And I would like for you to talk about your curriculum, which is developed around mindfulness, but it's also a way to enhance self-esteem and, my favorite, school readiness.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your programming.
All right. So basically, it's like a blended approach because academics is very important, of course.
Right.
But if you don't have the self-awareness, the self-esteem, and the confidence along with the academics, you're not building a whole child.
Right.
And it is very important to have all of those things together. Otherwise, children are going to struggle. And if children can't go to school without the anxieties and the upsetment, they're going to have a hard time focusing on anything.
Absolutely.
So that is my whole goal, is to have children to go to school emotionally ready.
Emotionally ready.
And if they're emotionally ready, it is so much easier for them to learn and to, accept and even kindness is part of the curriculum, acceptance of others, just learning to respond rather than, taking a pause and not, what am I trying to say?
Like instead of reacting, right?
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, which children do.
Yeah, it's
adults do.
Exactly. And we do this whole thing about instead of reacting, try to respond instead. Take a deep breath before you go and grab or hit somebody. Take a deep breath, take a minute, and then react, instead of hitting or
not
choosing.
easy
Right.
for the age bracket that you're dealing with. So what do you do when the child is being dropped off and is screaming and doesn't want to come into the building? How does that go?
Yeah. So we have that a lot.
Oh, sure.
So basically that's usually like a tantrum and a separation problem with the parent. But so we encourage parents to do a fast goodbye.
Okay.
Longer goodbyes heightens anxiety. So basically, we ask them to do a shorter goodbye. It's probably harder on the parent than it is on the child. So once the child comes into the school, we comfort them as much as we can. And then within 5 or 10 minutes, a lot of times, they're okay.
They're okay.
It's just you have to take cues from each child. Some children like to be, coddled. Some children want to be left alone.
Right.
Some kids just have to have a little tantrum and then they're done. But it just depends on each child.
So you're reading and trying to interpret. Now, I guess my question is, do the children see the school before they come for the first day?
Yes.
So they acclimate that way and they see all the beautiful pictures and the paints and the arts and crafts, and it's a beautiful school. And it looks like you want to go there and play, right?
Oh, yeah. We have bubbles blowing outside when they pull up and they're all excited. We have music playing.
Wonderful.
So we try to make it like a really happy environment. So we have like an orientation day in August before it starts. And then, the parent stays during that time. and they get to meet the teacher and all of the other classmates, and they get to play outside, so they're a little bit used to it before they start.
That's the key. So, we're dealing with 2 and 3-year-olds here. They don't have the skill set
Mm-hmm.
that we're looking for just yet. I don't know that they develop it in kindergarten either. It depends.
Right.
But here's an observation. You can correct me if I'm wrong. When I dropped my children off, not for preschool, but for kindergarten, all the boys were crying.
Oh, that, you know what? It is.
Is that a ratio that
I
you've
hate
noticed?
to say it, but
Sobbing.
yes, boys are a little bit more difficult
Interesting.
in the grand scheme of things. I mean, you will have girls crying sometimes,
Of course.
but if you were to break it down, it seems boys have more trouble.
Separating.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about your son when he was a child and how that led you to this career path.
Yeah. So when he was about 3, he had a hard time going to preschool.
Okay.
And I had to, he was like holding on to me and ripping him off me and all of that. And then slowly I just kept, taking the advice and reading books and trying to do the right thing. And I knew if I stopped and didn't continue taking him, it would be worse.
It would be
You
worse.
have to keep, going. You have to keep up and not give in.
Right. And promote why it's a good place to be.
Right.
Okay. So interestingly enough, when we were kids, like preschool wasn't such a big
I didn't go.
such a big deal, right? We were learning at home, whatever that was, blocks, Lincoln Logs, spin art.
Right.
One of my favorites. You squeeze the tube.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing fascinated
remember
me for
that.
hours. Spirograph. All right, I could go on and on. But when we finally got to kindergarten back then was really a behavior thing. You're going to sit down here, you're going to nap, you're going to have your cookies and milk, you're going to listen to the music and learn how to march.
Right.
We're in a whole different age.
Oh, yeah.
So you are incorporating arts and color and paint and music and mindfulness and kindness. What a fabulous place to be.
Yeah.
So how did you create that meld or for the curriculum that you have?
Yeah. So I call the public schools, first of all, and
Nice.
see what they expect of the kids for kindergarten.
Nice.
Because I want them to be prepared. I don't want them to go in and be like, where did these kids go to school? They're not prepared at
Very
all.
good. Very good
So,
point.
Yeah. So when they get there, they're already advanced.
Okay.
And they already know what to do. So, they do the Pledge of Allegiance every day. They stand, they put the hand on the heart, they know what to do.
Right.
They know how to color, they know how to do their letters, their numbers. We do art projects. They know how to cut with scissors, all of those things, and they love it. They actually love to do these things. You just have to give them a little bit of grace, a little bit of, chance to try something new.
Yeah, and also they're in an environment with people they don't know sometimes, right? All the other children may not be their friends from the block, which
Right. Oh,
which
no,
is,
they don't know anybody.
The way we grew up, you went to school with the kids on your block. You walked to
Right.
school, by the way, no buses.
Yeah, I walked.
Hello. We walked. And that's how you became lifelong friends. So for me, it's super interesting that there are certain school districts on Long Island that expect the kids to come to kindergarten already, coding for computers.
Right.
And, and although that sounds very technical and maybe not so loving and warm and fuzzy, in that given district, the expectation is very high for kids to have, numerical challenges very early on. Do you feel any of that pressure to have them be a bit more savvy with numbers, et cetera?
So interesting that I decided not to have any computers in my school.
Interesting. Tell us about that.
So I think it's most important at this age that they learn to talk to each other, to engage with each other,
Wonderful.
to play with each other, to share. I just don't feel that it's important for them to do things on their computers, because when they're home, mom gives them the tablet to babysit them while they're cooking dinner. Mom gives them this and I'm not saying that's bad, because they're going to do it, but I think while they're in school, they really need to just focus on each other, having fun, running, playing, and focusing on the work that's in front of them. I think
The task at front of them. So what I'm hearing from you is socialization, sharing, being respectful of other people's property, that's that's the tools that you're giving to them, which are lifelong,
Right.
Measures that can help in every way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know sharing is not easy for a child. We all know.
Yeah.
And so
I don't like to share everything.
neither. But that's where the arguments come in when so and so takes whatever.
Oh, yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Bring something from home, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, describe the environment at your school that fosters a family-friendly environment. Because again, we don't know the families that these children are coming from. It's not always a cohesive unit, right? And everybody's got their challenges ahead of them, and perhaps people have two moms at this point in time, and you have to be able to be flexible, right, and understand those things. So how do you do that?
Absolutely. So we do have all sorts of families. We have families that just have grandparents that are raising children.
Right. That's
We have
normal.
families that have two moms. We've had families that have two dads. We have families of all sorts.
Right.
So, and we are very accepting of anyone, of course.
Right.
We are proud to have any kind of family that comes to our school and through our doors. We hold family events that we did, like a trunk or treat this year. That was so cute. And we asked for volunteers, and so many parents like made their trunks into trunk or treat. And we had like a whole competition, and it was huge. Like everybody came, and it was so much fun. And they gave out treats and, designed their whole trunks. I mean, they did a really good job. I was like shocked at how good it was. What other things that we did? We did alumni kids just came in.
Oh, I saw that on
You
Facebook.
saw that? Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, all the kids, that came to my school, the older ones, and they had younger siblings, some of them still in my school.
Yeah.
And they read to the class, and some of them were up to like 9 or 10 years old that came back. And I was like, oh, they still remember me. I didn't know if they would still remember us.
Of course.
And they did, and they came back, and the parents were excited, the kids were excited. They brought us flowers, some of them. It was so cute. So they really do stay, focused on us, and they still really remember.
And they get the value of it as they get older, which is super important.
Exactly.
So Midge and I were having this conversation before we went on the air, and it's very relevant to what goes on here on Long Island, and it could be in your states as well. But universal pre-K, which we're going to call UPK, is something that is very much in demand in many, many districts. Now, you have to understand the dynamic out here is people pay a lot of taxes to live in particular towns. And so if a school district can offer universal pre-K for free, that's a big selling point.
Yes.
And so what's starting to happen is you see a lot of preschools, such as Miss Midgie's, losing business over the fact that districts are transitioning to that.
Exactly.
So how do you counterbalance that?
Yes. So when it first started, we had taken in more 2 and 3 year olds, and the 4-year-olds were getting the free UPK.
Oh, okay.
So, but a lot of our UPK students, I'd say at least 7 of the kids, maybe more, asked to come back because they were so upset at UPK because they didn't like the big structure.
Yeah.
The kids were crying because they missed coming to Miss Midgie's. So the parents said, I don't care how much it costs, we're coming back because we're not happy.
Right.
They didn't like the big classes, sizes.
Right.
So that was, beneficial to us. And I have to stress, and of course I'm partial because it's my business.
Of course.
But I do see it is so much more beneficial to go to a smaller setting, and it's the last year of your child being a toddler. And it is so beneficial for a child to just get this one last year of before they go into the setting that they might not be ready for.
Right, which is the whole system.
And I actually did the math, and it comes down to like $9 per hour to send them to preschool of a private setting.
Babysitters get more than that.
Yes.
Agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's fascinating to me because the school district that I taught in for 33 years, Carl Place in Nassau County, is a very, very small school district. But to appropriate UPK, they set aside a wing, which is where the high school students take physics and advanced math classes. And they set aside 2 classrooms for the little UPK kids to go into. The dynamic and the geography of that doesn't work for me.
In the same area?
Same hallway.
Oh, I don't like that.
Right. And I said to colleagues of mine that I saw over the Easter break, what happens when there's a fire drill?
Yeah.
You have all these high school seniors
Rushing
rushing,
through.
getting out there. And then you have to, go on walkie-talkies and account for everyone before they can go in. And these little children must be petrified just from the sound of the bell and all of the above. So that's why when I hear you say they wanted you to come back, because that setting represents love and kindness and care and bubbles.
Yes.
So that's what they're not getting in some of these structures. And, Midge is right. Like 2 and 3-year-olds, you're going to be in the system from 5 forward.
Yes.
Like there's time, right?
Right.
For that
Like why rush
to
it?
go on in a kindergarten setting. How long is the time that the kids stay at the school?
My school?
Yeah.
They could stay up to 3 hours.
Okay, so you get them 8 in the morning?
9.
9.
So like 9 to 12, 12:30 to 3.
And a little snack in between.
Yeah, they get a snack. Yep.
And then they go home for lunch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they come in the afternoon. We have 2 sessions.
Oh, the parents can pick
Yes.
if they want.
They could choose.
Choose. Okay.
And we also have a
Interesting.
summer camp.
Very good. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So a lot of the kids come to summer camp before they start in September because it makes them feel more welcoming. And for some reason, I did a test, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And kids love to be outside. I mean, I think most people know this. But so when they're outside, they stop crying. So when they come into the building, let's say it's unfamiliar and they're like, and then as soon as they step outside, they're like, ooh. And they start playing.
And you got good stuff and
Yeah.
you got things to go on.
And they don't feel like they're in like a new setting. They're
Yeah.
just outside. So when they start summer camp before they start for the fall session,
Love it. Smart.
they are so used to it already that they're ready to go.
Did we hear the teacher expert here say that kids like to be outside? just asking, because it's a rarity. It's a rarity for me to see children playing outside. At a park, I see them in parks, right? But I mean, I grew up in the city. We were in front of the house, on the stoop, in the streets
All the time.
day, all day. And by the way, no suntan lotion. We burn. Nobody called us in for that. And we were not hydrated. Nobody walked around with a large jug of water. We were the least hydrated generation, I'm pretty sure.
We used the hose.
It was, go out and figure it out. And we were left to our own. But it's true. We never wanted to go back inside.
Yep.
But then again, we didn't have computers. We didn't have televisions in our room.
Right.
There's so many distractors here. And I've even heard young children say, it's so hot outside. I prefer the air conditioning. Are you kidding me?
No.
Yeah. So do you have a pool setting or like sprinklers?
We have a sprinkler park. So it's awesome. It shoots up from the bottom, goes down over the top.
That must be
Oh my
great.
gosh, they love it.
That must be
That was
fantastic.
my best investment ever.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
So
they love
you're
it.
getting everything if you go to this preschool and all the love on top of it. So the only other thing that I was thinking of when I was planning out this, do you ask the kids questions before they come into the building to see like where their bar is, like what they know before they come to you? Because really, I'm going to be honest, education begins in the home.
Yes.
90% of your education should come from your home. And by that, I mean the parameters, the standards that are set, what the expectations are. I don't mean, algebra and trigonometry. Right. So do you interview the children and see what they know as their base level?
We actually talk to the parents more so.
Okay.
So the parents kind of give us an inside look. So some parents want them to start maybe a little ahead in a different classroom.
I see.
So we said, okay, we can try them in the higher setting, and if they, seem to be doing well, then we could do that. Or we could try them in the setting where they should be at their age level. And then if we see that they're doing, higher level work and they seem to be progressing a little faster, we don't want them to get bored.
Right.
So we will ask you if it's okay if we put them ahead.
So you don't have testing or data on these children. So you're making your judgments based on observations,
Observation,
right? Okay.
yes.
And I mean, I'm sure you've had parents who said, not my genius. They deserve to be in this
Right.
class, and you're disagreeing. Is that a tough sell?
Sometimes, but we really have to go by what we see and on a daily basis. Because if you go by one day, it could go either way.
Sure.
It's like, okay, they just don't want to participate that day.
Right.
And, everybody's in a mood sometimes. So
Tired.
you can't, yeah.
Yeah.
So even like when they test them for kindergarten readiness or whatever, when they go, it's a shame because some of the kids are like, oh, they didn't pass the test and whatever. And they could have just been hungry that day or they could have been tired.
You're very understanding. Mm-hmm. You're very I'm going to share with you my son and daughter's initiation into kindergarten. So they're twins, right? So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have twins. So my daughter Christiana, really spoke for him years 1 through 4, and he was fine. He never ordered. He'll have, and so he was very quiet. And eventually, we had to go to speech because he wasn't progressing. So when they asked the questions to get into kindergarten, what are your parents' names? What is your telephone number? The basics. And they said, my daughter got through. I was like, thank God. Okay, she's going to kindergarten. My son got there and they said to him, parents' name, phone number, and what's your address? And he said, address? I don't wear a dress.
Did he get through?
He's not getting in. They're gonna oust him because we said address.
Oh, that's
and he heard
funny.
address.
Yes,
right. So the one that didn't speak too often was really thrown because we had groomed him to make sure he knew all the answers. But interesting. So you're right. It would have been just a day where there was a misunderstanding, and that couldn't prevent him from.
Wait, did he get? I guess he got in.
Yeah, he's 26 now.
Okay,
so
he's flying colors.
He was the valedictorian of the kindergarten. No, he wasn't. But that always stuck with me, that imagine if they denied him access because of that.
Oh, my gosh.
And he wasn't trying to be funny. He was just being himself.
And it is kind of funny.
I find it very funny.
I mean, now.
Yeah. So, and you know what I also was struck by when you said you want children to be ready, the readiness for getting into school, like that's a term high school teachers talk about. We have to make them college ready.
Oh, true.
They always say, we don't want them to come back and say that high school didn't do the right thing by them. They can't write an essay. God knows AI has changed that dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's tough.
It's different now. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting when I read through your notes saying, yeah, we want to make sure that they're kindergarten ready. And I thought that's very appropriate.
Yeah.
Same
sort of thing.
Concept, different age bracket.
That's true.
All right. It's at this point in time, we're going to take a short commercial break and we'll be right back after these messages.
For seniors and their families seeking clarity, stability, and confidence in their financial future, trusted guidance makes all the difference. Rely on experience that puts your long-term well-being first. Edward Jones, Office of Boris Mikhail. This segment has been sponsored by the local Edward Jones office of Boris Mikhail. To schedule a complimentary consultation, call 516-962-2874.
Ever felt stuck with a home that just doesn't feel right anymore? Whether it's that outdated kitchen or the bathroom that needs a refreshed look, Twice as Nice Construction has got you covered. Family owned for over 20 years. Twice as Nice Construction has been providing beautiful new construction and additions and stunning remodels like kitchens and bathrooms. We're not just experts. We offer unbeatable quality and prices to help make your dream come true. Ready to start building your dream home or to give your kitchen and bathroom that much needed makeover? Contact Twice as Nice today and make your dream a reality. Visit twiceasniceremodel.com today for quality you can see and service you can trust. Twice the value, twice the commitment, Twice as Nice.
Hello, and we're back. Welcome, Miss Midge, who comes from West Babylon, New York, and she is the owner, CEO, and about to be franchising her preschool, which is called Miss Midgie's Preschool in West Babylon. She is also the author of this book that we're going to tap into at this moment now, called The Missing Mommy Cure. Now, interestingly enough, when I first saw the book, I thought it was The Mommy Cure. I didn't really see the part that said missing. And then without opening it, I assumed it was a book for parents to talk to them about how to make that separation easier when the little ones go off to preschool. But it's really more so for the children, right?
Yes, but in turn, it could be for the parent too,
Of course.
because the parent does not want your child crying.
No.
So you would you would read this book to your child the night before school.
The night before.
Or in the morning. There's also a game on the last page of the book that they could find things and that sort of thing, which makes it a little bit of fun.
Right.
There is a bracelet that goes with it.
Right.
This book is on Amazon. You can find it there. However, the bracelet was unable to go with the book on Amazon, so you would have to email me for the bracelet.
Okay, we could do that.
Okay.
What is your email? Tell everybody.
Yes, missmidgie1@aol.com. So it's MISSMIDGIE, the number 1, @aol.com.
Very nice.
So you would have to do that. But the kids love it. They find little things in the back of the book. And it really helps. I've had a lot of good feedback from it. It was on Good Day New York, Good Day America, I mean.
Good Day America.
And yeah, it won awards a couple times.
I love it. And of course, we're going to ask you, like, what would you say are the top 3 remedies that you could offer to parents and children alike to deal with this pressing situation of leaving home?
Yes. So regulating breathing. So mindful breathing is number 1. So I do hold workshops sometimes, but regulating breathing, it's like breathing in and out, right? And
For the child to do this.
do this. So it's like smell a flower and then blow out a candle, but very slowly.
And the little child doesn't chuckle and laugh at that?
No, they actually like it, and we do that every day at school.
Oh.
So even with the little ones, I mean, the 2-year-olds have a hard time figuring it out, but as time goes on and we keep doing it, do learn how to do it.
I love it.
Yeah. So we do mindful breathing every day, and it regulates your brain, and we do a whole thing of why that works, but I'm not going to get into that now.
Okay.
The other thing is, I mentioned before, is a faster goodbye.
Fast goodbye, yes.
No lingering, no,
off.
I love you so much. I can't wait to see you, because now they're like, where are they going? Like, are they leaving for a long time?
Right, sure.
And the biggest one is no sneaking away. Everybody wants to do it. Do not sneak away. You know, you want to like, okay, leave them and now they're busy, and then I'm going to sneak off. Don't do that, because they seem okay for a second, and then when they realize you snuck away, it's not good.
Meltdown.
Read them books. Let them know what's happening. Let them know you're going to be leaving.
Okay.
And let them cry. Then let them be with somebody who's going to take care of them.
Okay.
And then they're going to be okay.
So your staff really has to be very well trained in dealing with the obvious meltdowns, trauma, crying, excessive need to be held. Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah. Well, I did a mindfulness training with my whole staff.
Nice.
So they understand the brain and how it works and why children do what they do. And once you realize that, it really makes it more interesting of how a child is working inside, you know?
Right.
And the staff is excellent. I have to say, I love my staff is wonderful. And the children just need, to be understood.
They do.
And they do take care of them. And then, so the parent is not off crying, wondering what's happening with their child when they left them. We send them pictures to make sure they know that they're already calmed down. It's only been 10 minutes and they're already fine.
Okay. Yeah.
So mom's not still worried.
Yeah, well, that's true. So here's the things that popped into my head when I was thinking about this. So you're putting a group of children that don't know each other all together, and some children are going to have more needs than others. And here's what I'm going to tap into. What about the special needs students that maybe haven't been identified yet? They're definitely not classified yet. Like, how do you manage those kids?
Yeah, so we do have that.
You do.
So we accept everyone.
Sure.
And if we see a child that is not adjusting well, or if we see any red flags that maybe the parent doesn't know yet, we definitely bring it to their attention.
Okay.
But we're not a doctor, so we can't diagnose, of course.
Right.
But we bring it to their attention that maybe they need to be evaluated. School districts do it for free through the preschool evaluation center at the high school. And you ask for an evaluation. We ask the parent to go there and ask for an evaluation. The evaluation people come to my school and evaluate the child. And if they can get services, they come to my school and sit with the child. They get like an hour of services. They help them, whatever the problem is, if it's speech, if it's OT, if it's
PT, emotional
behavior, whatever it is, they could still stay in my school sometimes.
Right.
And just get that extra help.
That is tough to say to a parent that, we're noticing things,
Oh, yes.
right? That's tough. Even on the high school level, where kids should have long ago been classified, you would see things when, tests were submitted and attention spans were difficult. And having that conversation with a parent can put parents on the defensive, right? Because they're feeling that you're making a judgment about their child. And
it's very difficult.
It's very difficult. So you have to be very, very discreet, right, in how you do that.
I have a really good story for you.
Please.
So obviously I really think about it. It's so hard to do. And because you know how you would feel if someone's saying that about your child. So you really have to think about it before you say it and how you say it. For years, obviously, we've had to say it to someone every year.
Of course.
But this particular time, I had to say it to a parent, and I said it as gently as possible. And they were extremely angry, very angry. And they were yelling at me and really upset. And they're taking my child out of the school. You don't know what you're talking about, and all of this. And of course, I feel horrible. I lose sleep over these things. I feel
upsetting.
horrible. But I knew I did the right thing. But it's upsetting. So fast forward, like 7 years go by. 7 years go by. I get a phone call.
Oh.
It's that mom. She actually called to thank me because she said, after that, now I can't believe it because, that's
mad.
a brave thing to do,
Right.
to call me. She didn't have to call me back.
No, she could have let that go.
She called me back and said, if it wasn't for you, I would have never put her or even knew something was wrong.
And to create the services that she really needed to get through school.
And she put her through the services, and she was doing much better. But wasn't that nice?
Yeah,
that she even called me back.
That's maturity full circle.
I was like, so happy.
Yeah, I love that story. I'm thinking of something funnier though. That same young man that almost didn't get into kindergarten went to preschool. Again, not a very verbal child. They said, we're doing paper mache, we're doing Humpty Dumpty. They read the story. We all know the outcome, right? So they did the paper mache egg and those like little accordion legs with the sneakers, right? And they hung over the little ledge, and everybody got to color in their sneakers. And we went to, open house, and I see every single Humpty Dumpty sad, frowning. We know the end of the story.
Right.
And then I get to the last egg, and it's got a big grin on it. And my thoughts is,
that's my kid.
What maniac child is responsible for this egg? I pick up the egg. It says Luke Caliendo. I said, all right, I have to have a conversation because now I'm getting scared. I said, can I ask you a question? Everybody else's Humpty Dumpty is very sad. You see it on their faces, very, very sad. Why is your Humpty Dumpty, no, oh my God, am I saying this wrong? Everybody's Humpty Dumpty was smiling. I got it wrong. They were happy because the kids got to color their sneakers and their accordion legs. The kid that I was worried about was the Humpty Dumpty was sad. He had a really sad face. And I go, oh, this is the kid that grows up to not be okay. My son, why is Humpty Dumpty so sad? He goes, he's going to fall and break his head.
Oh. Well, he was smart. He
was thinking of the story.
Yeah.
Why would he be happy sitting on the ledge when he's about to fall?
Right.
Well, that's how I interpreted it anyway.
Yeah. Well,
not to say that they weren't saying, maybe we need to talk to you about this.
Actually, that was pretty smart.
It's very smart, but
yes.
Okay, because I got the story wrong, incorrect, but there it is.
There it is.
So I guess my other question is, and I won't harbor on it, like kids have accidents. Kids can't control their functions, and that can be embarrassing. And that can be
you mean pee-pee poopy?
Yeah. What do you do with that? Do they have to be trained at a certain point before you accept them?
No, they don't have to be trained.
Oh boy, it's a
Yeah.
lot of work for the staff.
Yes, yes. So we help them along, like if they start training at home or whatever. So the parents will tell us, and we start bringing them. And we have like a, yay, they went pee-pee or
Yeah,
poopy
they're wearing
on the
underwear.
potty.
Right,
It's
right.
exciting. So they love that. Sometimes it helps them because they see other kids going to the bathroom, and they're like,
they're
"Ooh, I want to do
intrigued.
that too."
Yes.
So that's good.
Yeah.
The last thing is if they have an accident, we change them and send home, and they always have to bring in extra clothes in their backpack. So, that's a rule. So they have to have extra clothes brought in. So we have something dry to put them in. So there's always, a solution.
Yeah. So, and it's just done as matter of factly. Like, we're going to take care of so-and-so.
Yeah, the kids are pretty good. They're like,
It happens.
Yeah. They don't get embarrassed.
Very,
really.
very, very good. I like all of that. See, because, it's so fascinating to me because people will say, oh my God, you taught high school for so many years. How did you do it? To me, this is where the hard work is going on, dealing with all these extenuating circumstances, pee-pee, poopy, crying, tantrums. Oh, hell's no.
Yeah.
Like I can't see myself doing that. And that is the foundation that is so necessary, right? For our kids to grow up in a healthy, I don't want to say stress-free, but in a loving environment. Come on, we want to send our kids to places where they're feeling the love because that's really the kindness and the mindfulness that really shapes who they are as young adults. There's always going to be the kid stealing somebody else's toys. We know that.
Right.
There's always going to be the kid pulling somebody's hair. There's always going to be the kid that takes all the snacks. We know these things. But in a loving, caring environment where you're nurtured, and I love the fact that you integrate the arts and coloring and music and shapes and bubbles and, all those things that we didn't have.
Right.
Played the piano, you sat down, they gave you sour milk, you had a cookie. It just was like regimented. These are just wonderful, wonderful things that really are the pillars of good education. And I know that that's what goes on at Miss Midgie's preschool because there isn't a person that I haven't spoken to in pickleball that doesn't know of her school and says the most positive things. And when she comes into play in the morning, she gets her workout in and then she goes run to the school. And we know it's right nearby, right?
Yes, very
it's
close.
Like 5 minutes from where we play. And everybody's always said such positive things. So I guess we're going to close with franchising. Where to next? Where do you think you're going to set up next?
Yeah. So I already have everything legally done for the franchise.
Nice.
So you could go to www.missmidgiespreschoolfranchise.com to get the information there.
Okay.
I would like to go to South Carolina because they have the same rules and regulations as here, except you could extend it a little bit.
Time-wise, hours.
Time-wise.
Oh, wow.
And hours. So the regulations are good there. And I don't know, I'm intrigued by there.
So you think you might pack it up in New York and go down there or just set up a satellite school and like have other people running it? But your premise, your curriculum,
Yeah, so somebody else will own it.
Right.
But I go there to do the training.
Love it. I wish that happens.
I know.
I thought you were going to say somewhere else on Long Island. I thought you were going to say, well, we're in West Babylon.
Yeah, I might.
You might.
Yeah, I'd like to do that too. I'm
think
going to have
that's
them all over.
Unbelievable. See, this is what this show is all about. Little conversation, playing pickleball. I knew she had the preschool. I said, this is somebody who needs to be on the show because this is a mover and a shaker and gets it. And she's setting the right tone for children. And that is important in any community. So thank you for coming on. This was fantastic and enlightening. So we're not going to shift gears too much because I'm going to talk about my next guest that's going to be on April the 28th. And we just have to tell you that we're both sleeveless today because it is beautiful in New York, right? We have been complaining about the snow. And it was like 78 degrees today. And the two of us came in and I was like, look at us, sleeveless in April. It was fabulous. So we're not going to stray too far from the educational theme because my next guest is going to be a dear friend of mine who was an educator for over 32 years. And she was my athletic director at Carl Place High School. We started out as colleagues and she moved on to become an athletic director at Carl Place in a position that she served for, I believe, at least 21 years. She, let me just tell you something about this amazing woman. All right, there we are at a fundraiser. Take it in. We are the frogs. That's what's on top of our heads. She was a D1 athlete in both basketball and softball at Long Island University, which was in Brooklyn at the time. She became a member of both the Carl Place Hall of Fame and the Nassau County Hall of Fame because she is remembered mostly for her positivity and her leadership, and for the creation of the softball program at Carl Place High School, which won county championships, conference championships, and Long Island championships. Any conversation you have regarding women's athletics in Nassau County, which is Section 8 athletics, begin with, do you know Chris Cerruti? Chris Cerruti has served on every committee there is to further the aims of sports for female athletes in Nassau County. And that benefited me as the cheer coach in 2016 when the county decided, and we pushed for it, and Chris was right in my corner, to allow cheerleading to become a sport, which it had never been recognized as. And as a result of that, I was the cheer coach, and my daughter came to the high school that I taught at. She was the very first recipient of an all-county cheer award, unheard of, in our high school.
Wow.
And now it's super popular. Everybody knows that these girls are trained athletes and they put in hours and hours at the gym and tumbling and strength training. And, you know, Chris was behind that. And I will never forget that in regards to helping me out. We served in so many capacities in benefit events at Carl Place High School, including Battle of the Classes, which we usually sponsored something for a staff member that was, prone to have some sort of a event for a grandchild or a daughter or a former student that was in need of some earnings from the high school kids. And as I mentioned, she has returned from Brooklyn and Nassau and Suffolk County. She has left those areas and returned to Florida, where she is raising her grandchildren. And her 3 sons are there with her, and her husband, and her mother, and her brother. So she is a good soul all around. But of course, the objective is for us to talk about female athletics and the furthering of that with scholarships and promotions, et cetera. I said to her, we can do this via Zoom. You do not have to come in. And she said, I will be in. And we will have dinner afterwards, and it's an important message to get out. So she will be on the show on April the 28th. So I'd like to once again thank Midge McDonough for her time and her insight. And I look forward to seeing all of you in 2 weeks on the 28th of April. Have a wonderful week, and thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.